Hey guys, how's it going? This is Pocket, and today I've got so many advanced tips to improve your battery life on your Apple device. So let's get started. So after watching this video, I swear that you will get 20 to 25% of battery life more than you used to have. So let's go to settings and let's go to general usage, then battery usage, and then from here you can see all the apps that you have used so far on the last 24 hours, and also you can see on the last 7 hours, which actually drains your battery life. So let's go on 24 hours. So here, as you can see, I use Safari a lot, and also the home and lock screen, which has something to do with the brightness. And also notice here it has App Store and the background activity, which is all the background activity that it does, and of course the mail. So let's go ahead and start with the tips. So the first and basic tip is to turn off Wi-Fi when you don't use it, Bluetooth when you don't use it, and of course the mobile when you don't use it, which is the #1 killer for the battery life. Then I suggest you, if you have an iPhone, to turn on airplane mode when you don't use it for calls and sending texts. For example, if you want to go to sleep, I suggest to turn it on to increase the standby time. Then let's move on notifications. So go to notifications and then select the search manually. And here keep the at least the less apps as you can with the notification turned on. So for example, if you don't want this app to receive notification for it, it's a good idea to turn it off. Turn it off. There you go. So now you cannot receive notification of this app, which actually increase your battery life a little. You can always turn it on by going to here and then turn it on by going to do not include, and then you find the app and then turn it on again. Also, slide down the notification bar and go here where it says edit, and then you can click on the minus and remove any app here to any widget, so which increase the battery life. You can always add them back by clicking on this plus button. So I'm gonna add this and okay. Let's move on the third tip. Do not disturb. This is a very good option to enable, because this actually you won't receive, you won't get disturbed by any calls or text, which actually can improve your battery life, but a little, which is a very good tip to do. Then let's move on general. Let's move on Spotlight Search. So this is all the tabs that your phone has enabled, which if you disable all these sections, will actually disable these tags that the phone has, which actually will improve your battery life and even the performance of your phone. But if you have lots of applications and you have trouble finding them, it's a good idea to leave the application checked. But because I don't have that much, it doesn't need it, it's unnecessary. Then handoff and suggest app, I have it turned off because it doesn't let you to suggest some apps, which actually will improve your battery life a little. Now let's move on accessibility. Let's go on where it says reduce motion. This is some effect that your phone does, so I'm gonna turn off to show you what it does, which actually splits out the application when it's closed, and you see some motion while moving the phone. The background is moving also. So I'm going to settings and disable that to save more battery life. And now look at the difference, how the app closed, and now the background image doesn't move. Let's move on to background app refresh. This is a very bad battery killer. I suggest you to turn it off. But if you don't want to turn completely off, you can turn off some apps here, but I suggest you to completely turn off, which will help to preserve battery life more, which actually save a lot of battery life. let's move on the display and brightness. Another very bad battery killer. I suggest you to move the brightness to the lowest comfortable level. So which on my case is this level, basically this one. Also suggest you to turn on the auto brightness, which activates the sensor of their phone and actually adjust the brightness for you. Apple recommends that because it saves much more battery life. Also display zoom. This actually you might don't have this feature, but if you have an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus or 6S or 6S Plus, you can turn this on because it zooms the letters and the application, which can actually improve your battery life a little. Now let's move on to the wallpaper. Notice that I have some dark wallpapers on my home screen and of course my lock screen. So by using these dark wallpapers will cause the pixel to produce less light on the background, which actually is a very good deal, which will improve the battery life because there are some pixels, as you can see here. Basically these pixels here are turned off and they don't use that much battery life compared to the white pixels, as you can see on these apps here. It's a very good idea to choose some dark lights wallpapers, and never use the dynamic wallpapers because they're very bad wallpapers for battery life. They're very cool, but they're very bad for battery life. Also suggest you to use some very dark, basically choose the darkest, probably the darkest wallpaper that you like, or you can choose from you can search the web to find one that you like. Then let's move on to privacy. Let's go to location services, and I suggest you to turn them completely off, or you can set here the location services while using the app. So actually I really don't use the compass, so I'm gonna choose never. Because I use Facebook and weather, I will actually let this on, but actually it drains too much battery, but because of that I'm gonna turn this completely off. Then let's move on iTunes and App Store. So from here, it's a very good idea to close all of these windows here, because this is the background, the background that the App Store does. As you saw on the previous, when I went to battery usage, you saw the App Store background stuff. This is what it does. So I turned this off previously before doing this video. That's why you saw it. And yeah, so that's a very good idea to close all of this, which actually will not let the App Store do some background tasks, which are very good for the battery life. Lastly, let's move on mail, contacts and calendars. So let's move on fetch new data. From here, turn push completely off. So if you actually don't really care about your emails and all this stuff, so it's a very good idea to turn push off, which actually search for new data on your phone when possible. So this actually can do it on the background, which actually is very bad for battery life. So from here where it says iCloud and all this stuff here, turn them to manual, which actually will check for new data when you open the application. And how many columns you have, it's a very good idea to turn them to manual. Will save a lot of battery life. Then let's move on where it says fetch, and I select it on manually. So as you can see here, that for battery life you can set the fetch to less frequently, so you will have more battery life. So that was all the tips that I really wanted to show you, and now you will see that you will have a longer standby time and your battery life will last for a very long time. So this improved me my iPhone's battery about 1 hour of battery life. So if you have, I forgot to tell you, if you have iOS 9, it's a good idea to turn on the low power mode, which saves actually up to 2 hours of battery life. Apple says 3 hours of battery life, but actually I have used it. I used this on my other iPhone, which I have enabled it, and actually it improved it up to 2 hours of battery life. And I suggest you to not update to iOS 9 if you have iOS 8, because I also have iOS 8.4.1, which are very good for the battery life. So the reason I'm telling this not upgrade to iOS 9 yet is because it has some battery drain bugs which will drain your battery life very fast. But Apple said that will release the iOS 9.1, which will have some improvements on the battery life and of course some performance improvements. So I suggest you to not upgrade to iOS 9 right now. So by turning on this low power mode feature on iOS 9 will decrease the performance on your phone, but will improve the battery life. So if you have an old iPhone device or an old Apple device, this feature actually will decrease the performance on your phone, which means better battery, but will be slower. So that's why I don't suggest you to upgrade to iOS 9 right now. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you find this video helpful. Please make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button, and of course subscribe to my YouTube channel, and of course make sure to follow me on Twitter, like my Facebook fan page, watch my latest videos, my latest tutorials, and my latest activities. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'm gonna see you in my next video. Peace out.